What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Monday night. The last July Monday night of the year. Thank you for joining us again, everybody all over the United States and world, if you're in Canada and other places. And again, we are on all channels, including the Fantasy Alarm Network. So welcome, FA Nation, for joining us here every Monday night at 9 o'clock p.m. So I guess really on the East Coast, it's more of like a Tuesday morning rants. But we do what we can. We're coming to you right after the Monday night games, too. It's going to be a lot of fun coming up in the football season. But until then, we're going to give you draft coverage, draft strategy. We're going to talk about that tonight with what I talked about last week after the great and wonderful Rick Wolf joined the show. And thank you to him. What an honor it was to have on the show. What a great show. And we're talking about outlining your draft. We're going to talk about the college fantasy sports game that Yahoo released in the last week. Not a lot of research out there to be had. It's brand new. It's a lot of fun. We're actually going to do a live, well, not live, but a actual league. We can take 14 people because there's like 64 teams in the thing. So 14 people, it's free. Just if you want to try it out with us, we're going to do it. We're going to have a draft on a Wednesday in August at night. A good time for everyone all over, no matter what time zone you're in, to join us and just try it out. Have some fun with it. See what we can do. Lots of different strategies I've been thinking of for that. I just wanted to give it a go. So I'll post a link shortly. I do have that. We opened it up today. I'll post it everywhere for you to join the league. The college fantasy football league. That sounds so weird. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And also a lot more to come with every week we'll do a different strategy. We have a mock draft planned. We have our live draft we have 2 spots left because we're at 10 now, and they're all joined. But I decided that we're going to do 2 more, and we're going to go to 12. So if you're the lucky 2 that want to join, please join in. 2 spots left. I'm going to close it at the end of the week on Friday. So by then everyone will know their draft spot so they can prepare before we do our draft. Yes, indeed. So join in. Send me a message or join. The tweets are out there. You can see it all over Twitter, my Twitter, on Facebook. You can find the link. Just join. There's 2 spots left, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that too. Again, it's a paid league. You win money. You get to show me up. Good luck, and you get a trophy. So what more can you ask for a good fantasy year? So I just got back from a little vacay. Yes, a little vacay. I visited the wonderful city of San Diego. If you haven't been to San Diego in your life, you need to. You need to go to the Gas Lamp. You need to go to Coronado Island. You need to go see Petco Park because what an amazing ballpark that is. You can go 3 hours early and just have so much fun. And all the food, the craft breweries they have there, just the stuff to see, their Hall of Fame for the Padres Hall of Fame. Is nice. Just the Western Metal Supply, walk around. It's a beautiful stadium, a beautiful scene there. And I did go to 2 games myself. I got my Trevor Hoffman bobblehead, of course. That's right. He was just inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. That's 2 Padres now, if you're keeping track. That is uno and dos. And it looks like it's going to be quite a while till we get numero tres. But it was a great time. Of course, they were swept by the Diamondbacks, which means... This means one thing. The Padres do not want me to wear an ass clown outfit. So, therefore, now the Diamondbacks are half game behind the Dodgers thanks to the Padres. Woo! So there you go. My Padres are on my side. How about that? But yeah, seriously, give it a go. Take a trip down there. Go to Coronado. Enjoy yourselves. You deserve it. You do. Especially with all the fantasy money you're going to be winning this year. From listening to the show and going to Fantasy Alarm, all the money you're going to win, you can take a trip to San Diego and have a blast with the family. Or just yourself if you want to be selfish. Why not? So, I just got back. A wonderful time. I enjoyed it. We try to go every year, and it's always a blast. Real quick, though, I got something for you. If you look right down here. Yes, right over here. Right here. 60% off the draft guide. That is right. 60% off only because I'm awesome. Everywhere else you get 50%, but you get 60% right here in the special offer right down below. If you go to fantasyalarm.com/Rouse, R-A-U-S, and use promo code Rouse. You get 60% off. Now, I am in a challenge with Howard Bender, Jim Bowden, Rick Wolf, Brandon Lee, and more to see who can sell the most draft guides. And I believe, since my name is shorter, yes, Rouse is easier to type, that I have a chance to win. So all my listeners, Rant Squad, everyone, FA Nation, go to fantasyalarm.com/Rouse and get your 60% off. Instead of 50, get 60. And also, enjoy winning, because that's what we do. That's it. So while I was on my vacay, as you would, a lot of stuff happened in the baseball world. And it all started with Sean Newcomb almost threw a no-hitter, 1 strike away for the Atlanta Braves. What a great achievement. Until about an hour later, when all of a sudden all these tweets surfaced, you know, like they did to Josh Allen right before the draft. Some guy, some nerd, and oh, look, 5 years ago he said this. Yeah, you know, those guys that need to get a life. Surfaced about him and some things he had said on Twitter, you know, back when he was 18 and still in high school. And not only a day later, now Trey Turner has tweets that have come up. And I'm looking at this and going, I don't agree with the tweets. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, those tweets were, you know, I'm not trying to support them for saying those things. Of course not. I would never support that language. But, first of all, more than half of them are rap lyrics. They're rap lyrics. They're quoting rap lyrics. How many times have you not quoted your favorite song on something or sung your favorite song or quoted? They're rap lyrics. So why is it okay for the rappers to say these and have this music so easy to access, you know, to be accessible, and not blame them that these 18-year-old kids or high school kids are getting influenced by them? But it's not okay if a guy in sports, when he's 18 in high school, quotes the same lyric, that it's okay for the guy to say who's a rapper. Why? And why? Who has time? Who has I barely have time to do what I do. Let alone go on and spend hours going to every player's Twitter and going back 5-6 years and try to figure out, oh, look, they said this, because you want your hour of fame. I said the same thing with the Josh Allen thing. I'm saying the same thing now. Whoever did this, you're a complete, utter loser. You're a loser. That's right. You need to get a life. You're only embarrassing yourself. You're not embarrassing these players. They're going to go to their PR. They're going to send their apology out, and they're still going to get paid millions of dollars to play baseball or football. You, on the other hand, the next day will be going, oh no, my name's not heard. What do I do? Let's go to see what Adam Jones said 10 years ago. 4 hours later, you may find something. You're a loser. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself, and you're embarrassing everything that is. Again, I don't condone what the tweet said. I'm just saying it's embarrassing that somebody would spend so much time to go back to try to pretty much hurt somebody and hurt their career by going back to when they were in high school. High school. When I was in high school, I was influenced by everything. Music, my friends, movies, video games, what I saw on TV. And so are these kids. Just because they're talented at playing a sport doesn't mean they're not influenced by entertainment or by their friends or their life in high school when they're teens. You were too. The same guy going, the same guy who did that was also influenced by the same. Maybe he wasn't getting laid as much, but still, he was influenced by the same thing around him. They're losers. Stop it with this. You're not a journalist. You're not a journalist by going and rediscovering tweets from 5 years ago. You're not. You know, when you probably just lost at Fortnite or whatever video game you're playing and decided that you wanted to go and try to figure out what Trey Turner said 5 years ago because you may have not liked him. You may not like him because he plays for the Nationals and you're a Braves fan. You have nothing better to do. So stop it with it. I don't want to hear this anymore. It's not news. And Twitter and Fox and NBC and all these sporting, ESPN, stop just even covering these kids. Not the players, but the morons that are out there trying to I mean, just don't even. Just let it go. Let it go, people. They're in high school. They're influenced by everything. They're rap lyrics. Why aren't we going out let's go after Lil Wayne for putting out music that says, that he wants to choke a girl on one of his songs. It's okay for him to say it, but it's not okay for Trey Turner to say it when he's 17 or 18 years old? Not cool. I hate it. You should be embarrassed. Speaking of that, another thing that boggles my mind is the whole trade that happened today with Roberto Osuna and Ken Giles from Houston. The Blue Jays traded what was their star closer until he did get in a domestic dispute, or he hit his girlfriend or wife, and he got suspended for like 70 games. And the Blue Jays wanted nothing to do with him. Good for them. Bad for the Astros. They just traded Giles to the Blue Jays for Osuna. And Osuna committed a felony crime and hit his girlfriend. And the guy gets to play this Friday. And it'll probably be their closer. And it'll probably be their closer in the playoffs. You know who doesn't get to play in the playoffs? Robinson Cano. All he did was get old and try to take steroids to be better. Yeah, it's also illegal. But you didn't hit a girl. So that's a little lopsided there. I think if you are just suspended, period, for more than 7 days in a season, you should probably not be able to make the playoffs, no matter what you do. Because it's a little lopsided there. I'm not sure I like that at all. So poor Robinson Cano, who probably has an outstanding relationship with his wife, doesn't get to play in the playoffs, but Roberto Osuna gets traded to a team that, by the way, from a team that wasn't going to make the playoffs to a team that is a potential World Series winner. So, boo you Astros for that, because that I don't like that. I'm sorry. And to me, that makes you look, and I like the Astros too, but I'm not going to be rooting for Osuna, and I hope he blows. Well, just blows in general, but I hope he blows every single save that he comes out for from now until the playoffs. And now I don't even hope you win. Sorry. You don't trade for a guy who does something like that. And so, again, you can't say things on Twitter when you're 18, but you can hit a girl and get traded to a World Series hopeful and play because you said you were sorry. Dang it. So MLB has some thinking to do because that is ridiculous. And I'm not going to condone any of that. And definitely, by the way, Jake Caswell said he just lost at Fortnite, and that's probably why he's listening to my show. Well, at least you're listening to the show and not trying to find out what Bryce Harper said when he was 14 years old. Speaking of Bryce Harper, they did announce today, at least allegedly, that they're looking at trading Bryce. Well, not looking at, but they're looking at offers to think about trading Bryce Harper. However, I think there's 0% chance it happens unless they get something really good. And the Dodgers just blew their load. So I don't know who else can step up and has what it takes. I think the Padres, I guess, could just, trade their whole farm. They could probably get him then, but for what? For 2 months of losing? So that's not going to happen. But, Bryce Harper, I guess he's on, his trade talks are now on the table. So all of you AL only league get happy, and all your NL only league start to cry because you may lose your first round pick. That's right. Just like what happened to Machado and Hand. That's why I don't play AL and NL only leagues. I know it's old school and people still do it, but man, it's rough when you lose those players in trade. So there you go. Get a life and stop reading people's tweets from 10 years ago. Don't let women beaters play in the playoffs. And don't think Bryce Harper is going to get traded. There you go. Those are my 3 takeaways from tonight's rant. That's it. The 3 takeaways. So, I know you guys aren't here to listen to me rant for an hour. Well, probably some of you are. But we're going to get into some fantasy football, like I promised last week. Yes, because each week we're going to talk about football fantasy football and get you prepared. Prepared to not just draft, because anyone can draft. And by the way, I don't want you to think, or if you think that you're one of those guys that the day of can go to Yahoo and print out a one sheet and go to your draft and think you're going to win it. You're not. You're not going to win, dude. Maybe you get lucky 1 out of 40 times. But without the research, without knowing what you're doing, and plus now there's so much research out there, the people that you're drafting against know what they're doing more than you. They know what they're doing. You're going to lose. That Yahoo one sheet that you have with Hunter Henry in it is not going to win you a championship. It's not. So you need to be prepared. Get out of your own self or your own righteous mind that you think you can just show up at a draft with a printable one sheet. Or my favorite, when I get the question, and I get this every year and it irritates me more than anything. Can you print me out a sheet too? No! I'm not going to print out my sheet that I'm printing out so you can just copy off me. And if you draft in front of me, steal my picks. So you know what I do now when they ask me that? That's right. I go to Yahoo and get the one sheet with Hunter Henry in it. And boom, there's your sheet. Good luck. So, and I did that last year too. And it really irritated some people because they're like, this guy's hurt. And I was like, what? I was like, well, you should have got your own damn one sheet. So I know that happens to all of you too. It's annoying. Okay, so let's bring in some analysts here and talk about draft strategy. This week, we're going to talk about outlining your draft. A real quick statement of that is this. Always do a mock draft in every single position multiple times. So if you're in a 10-person league and you don't know what position you're going to be, do a mock draft in 1 through 10 and do it over again. And then know what you picked in each time, in each round, and each place that you're in 1 through 10. There's plenty of them out there. You can get mock drafts anywhere. Yahoo has them. My favorite is RT Sports. RT Sports has a great mock draft system. And I think the best part about it, too, with RT Sports is that a lot of the players on there, most of them are professionals or of the higher quality players. So your mock drafts are more accurate than someone picking Deshaun Watson in the first round. So go to RT Sports for your mock drafting needs. And know what you're going to do, because you could actually think ahead of people based on these mock drafts and how you outline your draft and become a better drafter for it. And ultimately get what you need to win your championship. Because at that point, you're going to know what people are going to go for, what they're going to get, when the first tight ends are going to go, when the quarterback run is going to go, because it always does towards the end. And if you're on top of your outline, or as I call it, your outline, your draft outline, you'll know exactly what you need when you need it and know how to get them. For example, if you draft first, you probably want to go running back, receiver, running back, receiver, tight end, and then quarterback. That's what I would do in that situation. A lot of times it can get thrown in the mix a little bit, and some guy may still be there, but if you know that going in and that's how you draft, you're going to win your draft. So let's bring in the analysis to talk about this. I'm going to bring in Anthony Zaragoza and Josh Stanhill, and we're going to have an open discussion about outlining your draft and how you can win on outlining your draft. Here we go. What is going on, guys?
Hey, no introduction music this week again?
Oh, I don't have here.
Oh hell no!
How does that work?
Perfect for us.
All right, perfect. Okay, good. What's going on, gentlemen?
God, it's a beautiful
man,
Sunday.
Oh, it is. You know, and the thing about it is, like you said earlier, Edward, we're the last week of July. Next week brings August, and draft season is here finally.
I know. Well, draft season's here for me already. But yes.
But the actual football starts this upcoming week. That's what I think he's trying to get to.
It does. The Hall of Fame game is this week, by the way. So that's what's going to really drive people into the, oh, man, it's time to draft already. Like now it's like, oh, All-Star game, blah, blah, blah. But when that Hall of Fame game hits, that's when you know people get serious. So, outlining your draft, guys.
Yes, sir.
You heard what I had to say about it just now, about how you should do a mock draft in each position. If you're in a 10-person league, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. and multiple times, and then you know exactly what you need. For example, after a while, you'll outline like this. If I'm in the 10th position, I want to go running back, receiver, receiver, running back, receiver, tight end, quarterback. Boom. So if you have that down, knowing if I get the 10th, that's how I'm going to go. If I get the 7th, the 5th, the 4th, etc., that you'll have a better chance of getting the guys you want, and overthinking, well, not overthinking, but overanalyzing and knowing what everyone else is going to do. So that's why outlining your draft is completely important, and that's what I do every year. I know you guys do too. I found that this year, I love end of the draft for sure. By far the best place to be. I like 1 and 2 as well. The middle of all my mock drafts, the middle's been a little rough for me to outline or have a good outline of what I'm doing. Have you guys found that to be the same, or what have you guys found?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in that same boat, you know, kind of agreeing with what you're saying. If you're going to go into draft, in some of these leagues that I'm in, they randomize the order an hour before draft
Yeah,
time.
that's rough.
So unless you are fully prepared and understand who you could get at different spots, if you're, I don't know, mocking at one spot and you're on the other side of the order, you know, an hour before, you're going to be that guy who does it online with 5 seconds left on the board, clicking on some random number or one random player and drafting them because you weren't prepared. You know, you didn't understand who was available, when they're available, and like you said, that roster construction, you know. So I think that's huge. You got to mock. You got to figure out who's going where for the most part. Know guys you like, know guys that keep ending up on your team, and then you kind of visualize like, hey, you know what? I keep drafting Golden Tate, or hey, I keep drafting Jay Ajayi. Do I like Jay Ajayi? Oh, of course I love Jay Ajayi.
I do not like Jay Ajayi.
Oh, here we go.
Sonny Michel, baby. Oh,
Here we go. Here we go. But what I'm saying is, you know, you have to kind of understand and feel for it because, you know, I know certain guys when I'm drafting, they like to enjoy an adult beverage, and sometimes that kind of skews your reasoning. So if you're practicing, you'll be able to make those picks regardless of how many Modelos you had.
Yeah, you are the Modelo around a guy, right?
Oh, is that me?
Yeah.
Oh.
By the 16th round, you're redrafting players you drafted in the second round as a.
Or there is sometimes that he has drafted players that don't play anymore.
Yeah, or are still in college. Now with this Yahoo Sports College fantasy, which we'll be talking about later, you know, he may get confused. Hey, I'll take Bryce Love, please. Maybe in a dynasty league, but yeah.
I love it. But no, yeah, I think the big thing is research, making sure you're mocking at the various positions, and just being prepared on kind of what you want going into the draft is huge.
Okay, so let's walk through it then. Let's do just a 10-person league. We'll all agree on what the pick should be as we go. And then from there, we can say, okay, here's what you'll need in the second round and kind of give you an idea. So if you're first overall, you're obviously going with Gurley or Bell. I go with Gurley because we all know how I feel about Le'Veon Bell being a child. So I would go with Gurley as my number 1. Le'Veon Bell as my number 2. You guys both agree with that?
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, for the most part, from 1 to 4, I've heard, you know, Zeke and David Johnson. So if I'm in that
flip-flop
top 4,
those guys either way. Either way, if they're fine with.
You can flip them. It's all preference. But if I'm 1 through 4, I'm comfortable with any of those guys. It's all preference, and it's just a flip of a coin of your preference. So yeah, I think, like you said, if you're in those top spots, the pressure is kind of alleviated, and you can go in and get, you know, your bell cow for the season. So
all right, so all 4 of those guys have their number 1 running back dog. Then we go to 5, where it's been Alvin Kamara. Now I'm not as high on him as I would have been, you know, knowing that, you know, defenses can figure out that he's going to be the guy, and they can, you know, maybe I just don't feel a number 5 pick. I think that's way too high for him. So, but he's going there, and it's a wide margin from ADP, from 4.7 to David Johnson to 7.9 for DeAndre Hopkins. Says Alvin Kamara at 6 in the middle. So, I guess that has to be your 5th pick there. So we'll do Alvin Kamara there at 5. Then it gets a little rough there, because you got to think, do you want to go get that Hopkins or Brown there, right, and just have that number 1 receiver, or do you want to go Barkley or Kareem Hunt?
And that's really what it's going to have to come down to is, you know, and that's why you said in the middle it kind of gets a little rough. So
it does.
Really, you're going to have to say, you know what? Do I go with a top tier wide receiver, or do I circle back and try to get someone who was great, really good in the beginning of the season, and then kind of fell off, or a rookie?
Yeah, so I think Antonio Brown will be the play there at 6. So 6 has their receiver. And then 7, I think they go on a run. I think DeAndre Hopkins goes next there at 7. So you go 1, 2, because there's always those runs. Right. And then I think 8 goes Barkley. I hate to say it, but he's going way too high for me. But Barkley. Then I like Kareem Hunt there at 9. I'm not high on him there either for reasons I've already said. Andy Reid's terrible. And then in that beautiful snake spot at 10, you have to go Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette. And if you're in that, I know Odell Beckham sitting there. I don't believe in Odell Beckham. You heard Rick and I talk about Odell Beckham, Rick Wolf and I last week. We don't like him either. At 10, you have to get 1, 2, Fournette, Gordon. You are golden if you do that right there. That's why I always say I love that 10 spot or the end spot the best. So now we're snaking back. So after you get that Fournette and Gordon, now the guy who had Kareem Hunt, right, has a choice to make. Do you go Beckham, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, or do you go, I want that 1, 2 as well and go with the Dalvin Cook?
See, the thing, if you already got that running back, I think you hit that wide receiver now.
See, I don't know if I like that because I think I would go with Cook in that situation and also get a 1, 2 because now I'm starting to steal the thunder of the snake coming back of the people who got the Gurley, the Bell, the Elliots, because we don't want Cook to go all the way back there. We want them to be stuck with a Gurley McCoy or like a Gurley Freeman instead of 2 solid studs. So thinking ahead of what they're going to do, I'm going to steal from them in that situation. I may take Cook, but again, if I'm already on 2 Modelos, I also may take Odell Beckham. So, and do you agree there, Anthony?
No, I think that's the pressure. I think, like you said, when you're in that back end and the 10 or 12 team league, you have to make that decision ahead. Like, hey, am I going to go running back? Because that's going to be a long way back to you in that 3rd round.
Exactly.
And you don't want to see what kind of depth there is if you miss out on getting your 2 running backs. So, like you said, I think based off of going into your draft, if you're knowing that you're going to do running back, and you feel confident, which I feel like receiver values at the end of this draft or, the middle rounds are really solid, I feel comfortable I can get some decent receivers later on in these rounds. So if you're able to do that and stick to your plan and not listen to the Modelo talk to you, like you said, am I super confident with Dalvin Cook or like maybe a Devontae Freeman? Not necessarily, but I would hate to see who I would have to end up with in the 3rd round. So I think there you kind of go position-wise. You get yourself a Cook, pair him up with, Barkley. And who knows, the potential's there, and you just have a safer floor. I think when you're picking early, you want guys that you know are going to produce.
And also think about this. There's 2 guys in that 1st round that are coming up that have already both picked receivers. So you're stealing their number 1 running back. And they're going to end up
big time. And
they're going to end up with Freeman, McCoy, or even Jerick McKinnon as their number 1. So that's
I think another thing that it does is when those running backs start going off the board, the receivers now start moving up in value. Now you have guys like Devontae Adams, like you said, Julio Jones are there. So if you picked Antonio Brown, which I think is a solid pick no matter what, now you're thinking, hey, I can have Julio Jones with him. In most years, I would run over that and take it in a heartbeat.
Last 4 years.
You are leaving yourself in a dangerous position, but it's tempting because the value's there. So you put the pressure on those guys when you get those running backs early. So I think that's another big thing. Is like you said, you set your other teammates up in your league. If this is not their first year, you kind of understand, other teams' tendencies as far as drafting, certain positions. So yeah, you put the pressure on, put your foot on the pedal, and rock and roll.
Yeah. Justin, on our 1st round, real quick, he said that he would take Zeke over Le'Veon Bell, and he would take Kamara over David Johnson because he thinks the Cardinals will be one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. And he also agrees with us that Melvin Gordon is greater than Hunt. As far as the Kamara over Johnson,
smoke weed every day.
That's why, yeah, I don't know about that
And
one.
I agree with you too, because I think David Johnson. I mean, even if they're not producing, not throwing, he's running.
Exactly, yeah, and he's going to be the main focal point of that offense with an aging Fitzgerald. So I think I'd take him over Kamara too. Now back to where we are now. So now we're at the point where that middle round, like we talked about, where you have Antonio Brown and you have Hopkins. So he just mentioned you may go, well, I have Hopkins, now I'm going to get Odell Beckham, and I have Hopkins Beckham, correct?
Right.
And now I have Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. So now you have, in the middle, you have your two receiver, which the last 5 years ago has been great, but that middle is really hard. You are so tempted to take a receiver, and I'm going to be honest, if I have that 5 or 6, I may take Melvin Gordon there or Leonard Fournette there and not take a receiver, because I know when it comes back around, one of those receivers may be there still. Well, not Antonio Brown and DeAndre Hopkins, but I can get a Julio Jones and a Melvin Gordon there. So I'm not risking losing my ace running back there in that 5 spot. So I'm not even thinking receiver in the first round, no matter where I am. And that's just because you got to have that ace running back, or else you'll be struggling, and just hope that injuries and waiver wires and things can happen for you, because we're talking about flex leagues. We're talking about leagues where running back depths matter. Running back depth really does matter, and it does drop off after about the first 3 rounds drastically, because we don't know what we're going to get out of Royce Freeman. We don't know what we're going to get out of Kerryon Johnson. We know what we're going to get out of Sonny Michel, and that's an all-star caliber year. But we we don't know what we're going to get out of Jay Ajayi. So it's tough. So that's why I say you got to do what we're doing right now. You have to spend the time to do these mock drafts, and you have to outline what you're doing, because in the middle of the draft, we just literally outlined receiver. So now by the time it comes back, I mean, yeah, Christian McCaffrey may be your number one, and he has a lot of question marks around him too, especially with C.J. Anderson joining that club. So it's tough there. So going back around now, round
2.
Yeah, so we say that both those people that pick the receivers say, well, screw you guys, I'm going receiver. That's normally what would happen. Somebody may jump up there and go with Devontae Freeman, but I don't think so. So now we're back at like that. They already have their ace running back, so they're going to go probably a receiver haul there. Michael Thomas will probably go to one of those 4. Keenan Allen will probably go to one of those 4. AJ Green, even though I like Devontae Adams better. But back to that 1 spot now. When you got Todd Gurley or Le'Veon Bell, the 1-2. I don't think you go receiver there. I think you go running back again. I think you get a Jerick McKinnon or, a Jordan Howard or someone that you can have to go with, because then if you don't get a running back there, it really takes a long time to snake back to you. What do you guys think about that?
No, I thoroughly agree with you on that one, because even as a 2 you want to probably get that at number 2 before number 1 hits, because he's going to hit running back on you before he gets back to you again.
Exactly.
Number 2.
Anthony, what do you think about that?
Oh no, I think it's kind of like what you and Howard outlined last week with their method. If you keep taking your shots at number 1 running back, starting running backs, and even if you say you get McKinnon and he just busts out and he has an average year, you still have another number 1 running back, whoever it is, Freeman or Howard, and then you still have Gurley. So 2 out of your 3 picks are going to just statistically, you're going to be put your team in a better situation. It's easier to find these late round receivers versus running backs.
Exactly.
Kamaras are hard to find in the world. So unless you get them early on, you're going to just be hoping that some of these other running backs, kind of pan out later in the draft. So, yeah, I agree. You get your running backs, because now you're leaving guys like, Mixon and some of these guys in the 3rd round. So if you went receiver, which, like you said, if you got Brown and Adams or Brown and Julio Jones, now you have to start Mixon and cross your fingers that he's going to ball out.
Yeah. And guys, remember, always think ahead. You have your outline. If you have that first pick and you want Gurley or Bell, you say to yourself, no matter what, I'm getting a running back, because that's your outline. Stick to it, because I know ADP can be a bitch. and you get there and you're sitting there going, man, I'm on my, the last pick of the second round. I already have Todd Gurley in my pocket, and Mike Evans is sitting there, or AJ Green is sitting there. But if you don't go with your outline and you go with one of those guys, you don't pick for 20 more, 19 more picks. So it's going to be tough there. So you have to get the running back and the receiver there on that snake. You can't go receiver there or anything. You got to get a running back. Some people on that snake, I've seen go 3 running backs. So they'll get Gurley, then they'll get their, they'll skip AJ Green, and they'll skip, Gronkowski or Mike Evans, and they'll go McKinnon, and then get McCaffrey or get Joe Mixon there. So now you have Gurley, McKinnon, and Mixon. And then you're not waiting anymore for it to come all the way back. You have 3 solid running backs. I've seen that happen, like Anthony was just saying, waiting. So know your outline. So know you have the first pick, and then you have the 2 snake picks, and then you got to wait a long time again for it to come back to you. That's why it's important to stick to what you're doing, and don't worry about ADP. Just because a guy's there and you pick him up, well, you just ruined your outline. So now you may not have a solid running back core as you once would. Don't waste your outlines. That's why we're telling you this. So moving on to the third round, here's where you're going to see receivers drop like crazy. Here's where you're going to see Gronk drop, Kelsey drop. I've seen Ertz drop. This is always go on tight end runs. I don't like to pick a tight end. I'm not even looking at one of those guys, to be honest. I found a lot in all my mocks, a lot of value tight ends later. I'm loading up on my running backs first and then receivers all the way through based upon where I draft. If I'm in the middle, I'm going to probably get my receiver first. Not me personally, but the average person. You're not stupid if you do, but that's not what I would do. But still, you have your outline in front of you. Stick to it, and don't stop with it. Don't worry about ADP. Don't worry because this guy's sitting here, especially Yahoo ADP. Stick to your guns. Know your guys. Get what you want. Don't end up with 2 receivers and Gronkowski in the first 3 rounds, and next thing you know, your starting running backs are Rashad Penny and Jay Ajayi. Because you're not going to win. You're not going to be able to keep up with the other teams who are going to outdo you on that running back, on the running back points every week, and trying to create running backs out of nothing out of waivers that can compete with them, especially when they're getting receiving points just as you are, because receivers, it's hard to find consistent receivers, 1, and 2, they can just come out of nowhere. Real quick note on that real quick. If you haven't read the Saints press this week, the start of training camp, somebody I've been high on for a while now, Traquan Smith is in the news, yes, and not because of injury. He's in the news because he is killing it in training camp for the Saints. Like I've been saying, jump on the Traquan Smith bandwagon, people. He's that receiver you can get late that can, get running back, and put Traquan Smith on your bench, and next thing you know, he's a starter for you every week. Boom. So, we don't have much time to go through the rest of the, thing, but I think what we're trying to say here is do these mock drafts like we did in your head. Do them online, RT Sports. And just help yourself and make the draft easier for you and stick to your outline. Do you guys agree? You got to stick to that outline.
Yeah, you just have to be comfortable. The more, just like with anything, the more repetitions, the more mocks you get, the more understanding of guys that you like. I hate that feeling after a draft, 5 minutes afterwards, of how bad you hate your team just because you deviated from your plan. You should know.
Yep.
With the first 2-3 rounds, even regardless of where you're drafting, who you're probably going to get. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, then you need to get guys you're comfortable with. So going into these drafts, you have to understand, okay, I want to load up on this position. Or I really like this guy, so I'm going to reach for him. And stick to it, because if you don't, and if you do a lot of these drafts online, you're going to see that clock tick down, and then next you're going to click, and you're drafting Travis Kelce in your second round, and then you're going to cover your face, and everybody's going to laugh at you.
Yeah, you don't want to be the one to be laughed at. So don't be the one that's not ready, that's not prepared, and don't be the one that shows up with an old, outdated draft sheet. from Yahoo. You need that Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide because it's always updated. Spend the now 60% off, people, if you use the promo code Rouse down here at fantasyalarm.com/Rouse and help me beat my fellow employees there at Fantasy Alarm and show them that I can sell more draft guides because you love me more. And because my name's easier to type in. R-A-U-S. Boom. Easy. And easy to remember. It's just house, but with an R-A-U-S.
Well, it's the same thing as house, but not house.
So, there you have it. Outlining your draft, kind of a breakdown. I know it's obvious. Be prepared, blah, blah, blah. But we kind of show you how, by outlining, you can actually be outthinking the competition. And that's where we're trying to say. Justin Watson said, we never mention his sleeper. I'm not sure who his sleeper is, so send us in the chat who your sleeper is, and we'll give a quick breakdown on it. And it's probably going to be from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And don't say Ronald Jones, because we have mentioned Ronald Jones on this show. I know he's a Buccaneers fan. He's one of the Rant Squad elite members, if you would.
I just have a feeling he probably is a big fan of Jay Ajayi. That's all.
I don't know. I think he's on Team Sonny Michel. We know Rick Wolf is on Team Sonny Michel because I asked him in the Gauntlet last week in the Rants Gauntlet who he liked, and he liked Sonny Michel better than Jay Ajayi, and he's a legend. So there you go.
And there's a reason why it's called "I've Seen Sunny Days."
That's right. That's right. I see sunny days. It's the name of my team name, I think.
That's horrible singing, and that's a negative point for Sonny Michel.
Boo.
Horrible.
Yeah, still more points than Jay Ajayi though.
No matter what, it's the greatest comeback ever.
I can't wait, man. I just can't wait. The season can't start quick enough, man.
All right. Well, just when we thought we couldn't have any more fantasy sports shoved down our throat, we got one shoved down our throat this last week. But before that happens, that's where we want to remind everybody just one more time. Yeah, that's right. The Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide is the best draft guide and source for champions, period. It has everything you need. We just released the ultimate cheat sheet, which is just like the easiest way to draft. And it's not just printing out a one sheet from Yahoo. It actually has, round by round, up to date, always up to date, on who you should pick and why, and the auction values. It's amazing. And everything you need, we got player profile videos, strategies like we just talked about, more strategies, over 30 strategies for all different types of leagues. Of course, I have a Devontae Adams player profile, Melvin Gordon. I'm doing Adam Thielen and Greg Olsen this week, and I'm even doing a Kenyon Drake, because why not? And guess what? I got even better news for you, and the best news is this. Not only will you go to the draft and make your competitors your bitch, but you'll do it all by saving 60% off instantly. Not 50, no. 50 is for little children. The adults get 60% off because they listen to my show. 60% off instantly at fantasyalarm.com/Rouse. See right here, this little thing, it says go there because you want to go there. Follow the red arrow and go there. And get 60% off what you have to lose. Except your championship. That's right. I just made that up at the end. You like that? I like it.
Sounds good.
It does. Have you guys got a chance to check out? I know you have. The Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide. You guys are probably all knee deep in it right now, aren't you?
It's my everyday read.
It's your bathroom read.
I wanted to say that, but I don't want to.
You can. It's late night. It's late night. So I guess saying bathroom read is acceptable.
That's my best work.
You know,
I look at it right before I go to work.
He's actually doing this interview in the bathroom right now. Anthony is, so that's truly is his best work.
Multitasker right there.
Okay, so like I said before, I just I gave you a lead in and then it went away, but I'm coming back. So just when we thought that they couldn't shove more fantasy sports down our throat, Yahoo went ahead and said, "Hold my beer," and gave us college fantasy football, something that I am actually excited about because I, as people know, is a huge follower of college football. It's like my Saturdays are like just like my Sundays. Pretty much my weekend. Don't talk to me. Don't bug me. I'm watching football in some form. I'm even watching Canadian football right now. Yes. I couldn't tell you who's who and what's going on. I know that Johnny Manziel has not played yet, but he was just traded. But yes, so I am all about it. But college fantasy. So we're going to tell you kind of like basically what it is. It's pretty much exactly like normal fantasy. You got your quarterback, receivers, running backs, flex, tight end. They did kicker and defense. Why in college? I have no idea. It's like I thought that was kind of dumb for Yahoo. I think that they should probably have just done the offense only because, you know, if you don't pick an SEC defense, you're probably doomed. So I went ahead and I made a league. We could take up to 14 people. This one's free, so if you just want to try it with us, I'll be posting the link in the chat and on Facebook everywhere and Fantasy Alarm after the show. So you can join for free and join us to try out this magnificent event of college fantasy football, the first of its kind. There's really no analysis for it out there really yet. But there are stats still. You can look up stats from last year and kind of have an idea as long as you know who's left for the NFL, who no longer plays for the teams. But so in our league too, I did no kickers, no defense. It's quarterback, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, flex, and a tight end. That's it. So it'll be a lot of fun. So join us. So it's scoring's the same as Yahoo Fantasy, ESPN. It's the same type of scoring for touchdowns, interceptions, PPR. It's pretty much the same exact thing just with college, and it's 64 teams, or all the major conferences plus Notre Dame. You know, you got to throw Notre Dame in there, I guess. So there you have it. So 64 teams instead of 32. So there's a lot of players to go through. I started this morning, and yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. It's pretty much a crapshoot after some of the stars that you may know, or freshmen that you may know that had a good year last year. Some of the quarterbacks that have taken over. The one thing I found to notice, though, even if it's a player that you don't know, and here's my first thing, and then we'll ask the guys some of their strategies. I found after looking at stats that the players who fill in the roles of somebody who just left that was good is always good. It seems to be like the running back for Wisconsin is going to be good every year no matter who they are. You know, the quarterback for the running back for Alabama is going to be good no matter who they are. The system stays almost the same as long as the coach is still there, so it's almost like a plug and play. Oregon has had good running backs every year, no matter who has been put in there. So the system is what makes the players good. So really, if you look at that, the Georgia running back will be good this year. I don't even know who it is, but I know he's probably going to be good because they have a history of every running back being good. Quarterbacks, kind of similar, not so much because, you know, Penn State has like the star quarterback this year, and he wasn't as – Penn State isn't known for having great quarterbacks over the besides one who we won't name. But so really the system is who makes the players in college. So I found that interesting looking at it this morning. Like, I don't even know who the Georgia number 1 running back is, but he's high up on my board because I know he's probably going to dominate because they have a history of running backs dominate. So that's one thing you want to look at. Another thing you want to look at is points scored by conference, because points scored by conference I found to be really interesting. The highest scoring team from the SEC last year was Alabama. All right, you're like, duh. But they were number 15th overall. Now, defense, 3 of the top scoring defenses are from the SEC. So are players in the SEC as valuable as players from the Pac-12 or the Big Ten or these colleges that are known to put up points? You know, whoever the quarterback from Baylor has been for the last couple of years has put up numbers. Texas Tech, same thing. Oklahoma. So you want to look at that, and that's what I've done. And even these names I don't know. I know he's a starting running back for Georgia. I know he's going to be good. So that's what my kind of strategy going into this and what I'm looking for. And my last thing I'm going to say, I think this league is okay to take a quarterback first, especially with the amount of rushing yards some of these top 3 quarterbacks get. They get almost like 600, 700 rushing yards on top of their 3,500 passing yards. They're very valuable. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that can do that. So it's okay to take a Tate in the first round because he now is under the Sumlin system, and Sumlin's the one who made Johnny Manziel at A&M. So I'm okay with it. So Anthony, what have you found? I know you did some research today, and I know Josh did too. What did you guys find today that kind of, well, from the very little you had to choose from to kind of help you guys get ready for this Yahoo Sports college fantasy football?
No, I kind of agree with you. Like you said, with the systems, especially in college, the great teams are great for a reason year in, year out because they don't rebuild, they reload. So like you said, the running backs at Alabama, they're going to turn them out. They're going to produce. They're going to be safe draft picks for you. Texas Tech is going to fling it. So their wide receivers, their quarterbacks are going to be good for you. So if you at least have a basic understanding, kind of like what you said, as far as systems, you're probably going to find some pretty good players throughout. I think especially this year, I think like what you said with these running back quarterbacks, there was a lot of quarterbacks that graduated last year, and you don't have a lot of these big name guys left. But the mobile quarterbacks, like for instance, like you mentioned Tate, who's probably up there in the first round this year. He rushed for more yards than he passed last year.
He rushed for 1,353 yards last year and passed for 1,289. That's like having a starting quarterback and starting running back on the same team.
It's like having
exactly, yes.
In the same position at quarterback.
No, exactly, yeah. So I think understanding that, especially in college where there's no stats, there's no ADPs, there's hardly any rankings out there right now, but just understanding, looking at the Power 5 conferences, like you said, SEC, they play defense. So you got to be real choosy on who you pick over there. You go to the Big 12, they're going to throw up a lot of points. You can get a quarterback over there. You can get some receivers over there. Get some tight ends. Understand, hey, in the West Coast, they're, playing that pro-style offense. I'm going to look there. So understanding that will help you navigate. But, at the end of the day, you still have to go in. Just like if this was, the NFL draft, you got to research. If you're going to play a college football fantasy league this year, just because it sounds cool, because like we're doing it, we're pretty excited about it. Don't up a printed piece of paper from last season and try to draft Rashad Penny with the first pick overall.
Yes, don't do that. No, don't. So, don't draft Baker Mayfield. It's not.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet he was the number one pick last year. If there was, he would. I bet Jackson would be the Tate of last year.
100%.
But I mean, you have to draft these quarterbacks in the first round just from based on him and even McSorley, 3,200, 26 touchdowns, 431 rushing yards. Yeah, but 11 rushing touchdowns for a quarterback. I'm telling you, that's a first rounder in my book. I don't care. I'll take him as my quarterback, and you try to find a quarterback that can catch up to that. And after that, after those three guys, I think what's the guy from Mizzou who had a really good year last year?
It's Drake Locke.
Yeah.
Or Drew Locke, sorry.
Yeah. So after those three, it's kind of a little of a drop off because Herbert didn't play a huge. He's one of the favorites for Heisman as a quarterback potential first or second pick next year in the draft overall. He broke his collarbone last year, was out for a while, so he's also a potential to put up those type of numbers, and he could run as well. So I have no problem if you're in a 14-person league with 64 teams picking one of those guys as your first pick. It's a lot different strategy, and then just kind of plug and playing the rest, because receivers, I think, were the toughest for me. Running backs, you're going to have your Jonathan Taylor, your Gaskin, obviously Bryce Love will be the first off the board. Anderson out of Oklahoma, Montgomery. Who else you got?
But also, I was going to say another quarterback I also had too was that Khalil Tate out of Arizona.
Yeah, that's who we're talking about. Tate. He's the one that had 1,353 rushing yards and 1,289 passing yards all in one season. So he's pretty much a starting running back and quarterback in one.
Yeah, and like you said, even if you go quarterback this year, strategies are going to be whatever you want. There isn't any kind of data to say one route is better than the other. This year you kind of know, okay, running backs are pretty, hot when it comes to NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So you go that route. Here it's like, dude, whatever you feel like, the numbers wise, go after them and then see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm kind of staying away from the SEC, I think, a little bit. I mean, if somebody's there, like I really like the quarterback out of Alabama, the one who came in the championship game and dominated the world.
The guy from Hawaii.
Yeah, I would take him as like my second quarterback and be okay with that. But receiver really had a hard time with just trying to. It's really tough because sometimes if you look at game logs from even some of these top guys, a receiver in college tends to disappear for a game or two, and then all of a sudden come up with 220 and 2. So that's going to be the tough one. I think that's going to be the most rotating door, if you will, of waiver wire pickups. They're going to be wide receivers in this college fantasy football league. Some I do like, though, is I like the kid from ASU, Harry. He's a 1,000-yard receiver last year, 73 receptions, and I like that.
You know what? Now that we're talking, why don't we just go through our list?
Oh, okay. You guys have a list of your top 5?
I do have a top 5 in each category.
Okay, we already talked about the quarterbacks. Well, you're quick. We're almost out of time here. So your top 5 quarterbacks. Go.
I think
Go ahead.
Go ahead. So yeah, I think like you said with the mobile quarterbacks, there was so much turnover from last year's draft. You know, the Sam Darnolds, the Rosens, all those guys are off. So I really like Will Greer from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Threw for a lot of touchdowns. He has a plethora of wide receiver talent, you know, this season. So I think he's going to have a monster year. Tate's going to be number 2 for me. He's just I don't know what he's going to do passing-wise. You know, even though it's pretty remarkable that he rushed for more yards than passing, but still, to only pass for 500 yards in a full season, a little concerning. But, you know, like you said, with that offense this season, he should improve on that. So he's going to be in the mix at number 2. I like Drew Lock from Missouri.
Love
him.
him.
A lot of yards last year.
43 touchdowns. 43
yeah.
touchdowns last year.
Yeah, and he's a senior. When in doubt, go with the senior guy who's led his team for a while, so he'll be in the mix. Like you said, Trace McSorley for Penn State. He had 11 rushing touchdowns last season, so that's only
with Saquon Barkley on his team too. Keep that in mind. With Barkley.
Wow. That's unreal. I didn't even think.
So this year.
Holy cow. Yeah, and like you know, and I think my number 5 guy is going to be your boy from Oregon, Justin Herbert. I think you know he only was limited last year, but the guy's 6'6", he has a big arm, smart guy. He's going to be throwing us some stats there in Oregon for sure.
Yeah, I mean the only person I add into that mix is actually Nick Fitzgerald from Mississippi State. Because if you looked at his numbers, I mean, yeah, he didn't have the yards last year for rushing.
Similar to Tate. He almost had 1,000 yards rushing last year.
Yeah, but he has 14 touchdowns last year rushing.
Quarterbacks, man, what the hell?
Are we talking about quarterbacks or
we are talking about quarterbacks, man. This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna really look forward to this. All right, let's go to running backs real quick. Or I'm with you guys all on there. I actually like Locke a lot this year. I like McSorley, Locke. I'm not that high on Tate only because the passing yard scares me and the fact that he throws interceptions as much as touchdowns. But I also have Greer and Herbert ending all that out too. So Fitzgerald's up there on my list though too. That was a good pick there as well, Josh. So running backs here, I'll just give you my 5. I think we're all about the same. Bryce Love, of course. How do you go wrong with 1,800 yards and 16 touchdowns? Although the lack of receptions scares me. He only had 6 receptions for 33 yards last year. So I like him, and he's going to obviously be crazy. But my number 2 guy is the same, Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin. Like I'm talking about, every year the Wisconsin running back produces. Last year, over 1,800 yards as well, and he actually had 4 receptions for 52 yards. So he actually, him and Bryce Love had very similar stats, except Bryce Love had 3 more touchdowns. So that's why I had them number 1 and 2. I like Myles Gaskin from Washington as my number 3, although I'm a little worried they're going to be a little throw heavy on that team this year with losing a lot of the defensive guys that they've had in the last 2 years. I don't think their defense is going to be as good. Going to have to come back in a lot of games. So I don't think he's going to get as many opportunities. That's why I dropped him down to 3. I love Anderson stepping in at OU. And then my last guy is David Montgomery out of ISU. Only because of schedule, too, by then. Because I also had Dillon. A lot of people are on Dobbins and Swift, but I went with Montgomery there just from pure I mean, it's ISU. He's going to get all the carries. So those are my top 5 there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front. The only thing I have is instead of Gaskin, doesn't have that many rushing yards. He had a 18 touchdowns last season, which is crazy. But who I like, which when I started looking at some of these guys, it's just unreal. I really like Benny Snell from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Freshman, 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. He almost had 300 carries. He's a workhorse. They're going to feed him the ball. I can't imagine Kentucky's going to kind of change their offensive scheme. So
Not at all.
Running him
Not at all.
Yeah. So here I'm looking for touches. So someone like Kentucky, like you said, even though it's a tough SEC, he did it last season. He's only going to get better. So I like Snell this year to only improve from that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Touches is huge. You want someone who's going to touch the ball in college. He was up there in touches as well. So that's why that's also why I was on Montgomery and Dylan over a Dobbins from OSU. Everyone's all about him, but he only had 164 touches last year compared to some of these guys who are at 260, almost 300, like you're saying. So, kind of going with a guy that's I'm all about consistency. So, Josh, you agree with a lot of those guys? You have any other guy we didn't mention?
I mean, pretty much exactly what you guys are on.
Yeah, it's pretty much kind of there. Also, for some reason, Cal always seems to come up with these running backs. And Patrick Laird had a pretty decent year last year, and he could build on that this year as well. Not as many touches as I would like, but he did a lot with them, which makes me believe they're going to give him the ball more this year and have more opportunities. And everyone's all about Cam Akers from FSU, too. He's still going to be splitting that backfield, though, so be careful, weary on that. Okay, the tough one, wide receiver. I'll let you guys go because my brain hurt trying to figure out wide receivers in college fantasy.
I'll start it off. My top 5, I got A.J. Brown from Mississippi, David Sills from West Virginia, Keneal Harry from ASU, and then I got Marquise Brown from OU, and then Jalen Smith out of Louisville.
Nice. That's a lot of who I have here too as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm real big. I like Harry this year. I think guy's super talented. He's going to be a future first-round pick in the NFL. I love his upside. Like you said, David Sills, he had 18 touchdowns and 60 receptions.
Yeah, but there's a lot of hands to feed on that West Virginia team, though.
No, there is, but when you're scoring touchdowns almost at a 30% rate, you got to be up there. Someone I kind of like, which – it's going to go against the grain from what we were talking about, but the fact that I'm liking a receiver from the University of Nebraska, which is historically known for running the ball.
Running backs, yeah.
I really like Stanley Morgan this year. Simi Cobbs last season.
Will he help you invest as well?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Or at least give me some kind of connect. But, he had a solid season last year. He almost had 1,000 yards. He had 10 touchdowns. If there's ever going to be a year where, you're going to have a receiver go over 1,000 yards in Nebraska, it's going to be him. And like you said, receivers this year, there's only about 3 guys returning that were in the top 20 in receiving yards. He was one of them. So I feel comfortable making him one of my receivers just because I know he's going to get me. I'm comfortable with that. Some of these other guys, who knows what you're going to get.
Also, last year, of only 4 receivers that are still playing in college that weren't drafted or moved on went over 1,000 yards last year. 4.
That's crazy.
Keep that in mind. All right, real quick, going to tight ends. Another one that it's almost as tough. Love the kid from Oregon. He's Breeland. He played sparingly last year. This is his year. I like him a lot. Of all the ones that are owned the most I'm going to let Josh try to say his name because I'm not, but Albert Okuabunem from Mizzou. Obviously, if you like the quarterback, you're going to like the tight end as well. Noah Fant.
There you go.
But again, Iowa, another school that somehow has tight ends that are always good. Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
So I like him. And then whatever tight ends on Stanford for the same reason. Always good. I think it's Caden Smith. So those are my tight ends I have on my list.
I also have Grant Katera
We're so confident in these guys.
No, it's hard to say the last name, but I mean, here's another guy. He's out of Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma always breeds well, and they always do well. He's gonna produce. So, and the other person I have is Tom Sweeney out of Boston College.
Okay.
And Boston College always likes their tight end as well.
They do. Yeah, you're right. That's another big tight end school. So yeah, there it is. Like what we said, schools that have the same position that always produce every year, just go with those guys, and you'll probably be okay. Real quick, have some questions. What do we think about Saquon Barkley? We've talked about Saquon Barkley. I've talked about Saquon Barkley. I'm not as high on him as other people are. The offensive line in New York is absolute terrible. He doesn't have a touch in the NFL, and he hasn't been hit by a team of NFL defenses, so I'm not on him as high. I would never draft him in the first round. He's not even going to be on my board, and I could be wrong, but the chances are I'll be better off going with a Melvin Gordon or Leonard Fournette there. So I'm not high on him. Another question we have is who's going to win the Hall of Fame game? The Ravens or the Bears? I think. You know what?
Ravens.
I don't know because there's going to be like no starters in that game at all. But I would have to say the Ravens probably have the better shot. So I'm going to say Ravens. Anthony, you agree with that?
No, I'm going to go with the Bears. Anytime it's preseason, these
against
bad
the grain,
teams and to win. Yeah, you always go with, like, there's always when the Raiders have been historically bad, they do pretty well in the preseason. So
yeah, I mean Patrick Mahomes is being drafted as high as he is strictly because of his preseasons.
I mean, he is very right. I mean, if you take the Browns last season, they were undefeated in the preseason.
Ooh, then they turned back and went the other way. Also,
yeah.
Justin has a sleeper for his college football. He wants to get in. His sleeper is Marcus McMaryion from Fresno State.
No,
unfortunately for you, they are not a part of the Power 5 conferences. Therefore, you cannot draft Marcus McMaryion in your league. So, with that being said, guys, we are done. We have had a good show once again. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on this Monday night. We're going to have another strategy next week. I'm going to post the link to our free fantasy college sports league after the show. Join. It's free. Just join it and have some fun with us. The draft will be on a Wednesday. I think it's like 7 p.m. It's not going to be live on air or anything, but we're just going to do it, have some fun. And also 2 more spots left for our actual fantasy draft because I upped it to 12. So get in on that. And finalizing the teams on Friday. And get ready for just a preseason of fun. Hall of Fame game this week, which means drafting is on, baby. It's on. Real quick, Justin also said if you guys don't take Michelle and Ajayi back-to-back in the 5th, he's going to be highly disappointed. So,
yeah, exactly. I think with everything we've talked about, the funny thing is neither of us are going to have them. Or I'm going to have Michelle on my team. You're going to have Ajayi on your team. Watch.
That's going to be that'll be hilarious. A mid-season trade.
A week 1 trade because I'm getting Ajayi no matter what.
Yes. Ugh, terrible. Okay, guys. Well, thank you guys for joining. Appreciate it. Plugs real quick before I let you go.
Yeah, you can get me on Twitter at Zaragoza Anthony. I got a lot of fantasy content coming out this week and the coming weeks forward. Definitely check me out on there for rankings and mock drafts and whatnot. And definitely check out Fantasy Alarm, the draft guide. That's probably the only way you're going to beat me. So if you don't get it, you're not going to beat me.
And staying sober. I think staying sober is the other way they could beat you too.
You're probably right.
All right, Josh, you got anything?
Yes, except for raising him a Modelo, I will. Follow me, Jay Stanhill, on Twitter, and just like Anthony said, get that draft guide so you can not just play, but you win.
That's right, and that's at fantasyalarm.com/Rouse, by the way. Help us out. All right, love you guys. I'll talk to you a bit.
All right.
All right, so thank you guys so much for joining us this Monday night. We'll see you next Monday night with another strategy session and more news. And hopefully positive news. I don't have anything to rant about, but there's always something that just gets me to go every time. All right, guys. Until next Monday, thank you, FA Nation. Thank you, Rant Squad. We will see you next week. And always remember that only you can prevent forest fires.